Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. This is Valley Water's virtual public meeting on the Lower Berryessa Creek Flood Protection Project as we discuss phase 2 of the upcoming work on Lower Calera Creek. My name is Rochelle Blank, and I am Valley Water's Deputy Operating Officer for Watersheds Design and Construction Division. And when all 3 phases of the Lower Berryessa Creek Flood Protection Project are completed, it will protect approximately 1,800 parcels from the threat of a 100-year flood event. A 100-year level of protection means a 1% chance of flood occurring in any given year. This project will protect you from that occurrence. Tonight, we will provide an informational update on the project and upcoming construction activities. You'll also hear from Valley Water's District 3 Board of Director Richard Santos, and the project team. At the end of the presentation, you will have an opportunity to ask questions of the project team about the project. You will find the agenda, meeting presentation, and project information on the project's webpage, which staff posted in the chat box. Before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Jose Villarreal from Valley Water's Office of Communication. Jose will provide information on how to access the tools for the Zoom virtual meeting and facilitate questions and answers after the project has been presented to you. Thank you. Jose.
Hi. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Jose Villarreal. I'm with the Office of Communications. If you are listening to us, you'll notice that the camera option is not available. That's because we are in a webinar. For those that might have some bandwidth issues, you can also click on the join by audio, and that will release some bandwidth so that you can join the meeting. Also, during the question and answer period, if you look down at the bottom, you'll see the Q&A box. We ask that you please submit your questions through the Q&A box and not use the chat function, so that we can keep track of all the questions that are asked during the meeting. You may also raise your hand. You'll see a hand that will be raised next to your name, and that will notify us that you have a question that you'd like to ask staff. We will unmute you, but you will also need to unmute yourself in order to be able to proceed in asking your questions. And finally, if you are on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and press *6 to mute or unmute yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Now I'd like to provide an overview of tonight's virtual meeting. So in a few minutes, we will hear remarks from Director Richard Santos. Following his remarks, staff will give a project presentation and discuss the upcoming construction activities. We will then open the meeting for questions, and we'll after the presentation, and we'll answer as many as you have. The meeting will end at approximately 7:30 p.m. or sooner, depending on the community's number of questions. Tonight, we are joined by Director Richard Santos, who represents the community of Milpitas as part of his District 3 in the Valley Water Board of Directors. Director Santos is a native Alviso. He served in Korea while in the Army and retired as a San Jose fire captain after 33 years of service. He was elected to the Valley Water's Board of Directors in 2000 to represent District 3. This includes Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, Alviso, and Milpitas, North San Jose, and the Berryessa Alamo communities. We appreciate his time and ask that you welcome him here tonight. Director Santos, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Rochelle, and our staff, and thank everybody for joining us tonight. I know everybody's busy, probably celebrating some of the restrictions of being lifted and getting back to business in your homes. But of course, please be safe. And I am Richard Santos, your Director of Santa Clara Valley Water District. And again, thank you for taking the time to join us. I want to welcome all the neighbors watching on Facebook Live. You can submit your questions online, and we will answer them later in the meeting. I want to acknowledge any elected officials from Milpitas or anywhere if they're out there, but especially the Milpitas staff, city manager. They all work with us well, and Mayor Tran and I are in frequent conversations, especially about flood protection and our drought. So with that, we welcome everybody from Milpitas. And then we want to thank the city of Milpitas for working with our staff and making this all possible. I'm very excited to announce that the addition of the Lower Berryessa Creek project we are starting construction on the Lower Penitentiary Creek Improvement Project. So our neighbors living near the creek continue to have flood protection. We are also repairing the concrete walls of Piedmont Creek so that this continues to keep stormwater in the stream and safely carried away from the neighborhood. Valley Water has been working to protect Milpitas residents and businesses from flooding for many years and will continue. In 2019, Valley Water and the United States Army Corps of Engineers completed the Upper Berryessa Creek Flood Protection Project. The project provides flood protection to the recently constructed BART station and 650 properties with homes and business on them. The project area extended along Berryessa Creek for approximately 2.2 miles from I-680 down to Calaveras Boulevard. The area is now protected against 100-year storm. Milpitas residents and businesses will benefit from Valley Water's efforts to build and maintain flood projects. Please ask questions and share your thoughts with us. We have Valley Water staff, great folks, available to respond during your questions and answer portion of tonight's virtual meeting. Although tonight's about flood and so on, we must also address our drought. You get all kinds of statistics. It's real. We need water conservation as a way of life. We need to count on everybody, our staff and myself and our board is 7/24, trying to get water transfers, water, whatever we can. But if we use the recycling water to take care of our landscaping and thoroughly use domestic water properly, we can make it, folks. We just got to work together. So continue with that. I want everybody to be safe. If you have questions, we have great staff here to work with you. I'm always available, 7/24. Call us anytime. And with that, thank you. And back to Rochelle.
Thank you very much, Director Santos. I'd now like to turn things over to the associate engineer for this project. His name is Javier Valencia, and he's going to go ahead and go through tonight's presentation. Again, after our presentation, you will have an opportunity to ask questions regarding the project and the upcoming construction activities. And both Javier and the Capital Engineering Unit Manager, Carl Newman, will be available to answer your questions. So with that, Javier, can you please take us to the presentation at this time? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Rochelle. Now let me share my screen so you can. Okay, thank you, Rochelle. My name is Javier Valencia. I am the project engineer from the design team for the Lower Calera Creek Flood Protection Project. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the project, the overall, what the project is going to be, what is going to be built, and describe the project in detail, explain what will happen during construction, what the community is going to be expecting from the construction, and also the communication during construction, how Valley Water will communicate with the community and how the community can communicate with Valley Water. For tonight's agenda, we have, as I said, I'm going to talk about Valley Water. We're going to have project objectives and background, project elements, and what to expect during construction, project schedule, neighborhood communications, and at the end, we're gonna have questions. If you have any questions, we're gonna be here to address your questions. First of all, let me talk about Valley Water's mission. The mission of Valley Water is to provide safe and reliable water to the community, to provide protection from flooding, which basically that's the purpose of this project and the objective of this project, and also to provide healthy creeks and ecosystems, which that's another objective of the Lower Calera project. Valley Water level of service. Valley Water serves over 2 million people in Santa Clara County, 15 cities, 12 water retailers, and 4,700 direct well owners. Now, the project objectives and the background of the Lower Calera Creek is to provide flood protection from the 100-year flood event, meet the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is known as FEMA, freeboard requirements for flood protection elements. Another objective is to improve maintenance access, just in case there's some emergency some maintenance emergency. This project will provide at the end of the construction that access. Also to minimize the need for seasonal removal of sediment and vegetation, which basically Valley Water's objective is to have a self-sustained creek that requires minimum maintenance. Also, another objective of the project is to improve biological conditions with mitigation planting. As every construction project that it's managed by Valley Water, there is always mitigation planting. This is required by the regulatory agencies, and this planting is conducted, or basically all the plants that are going to be planted are natives of the area. And lastly, another project objective is to improve trail access in the area. Now on this one, this is the map of the Milpitas area. As you can see over here on the pointer, we have the Lower Calera Creek project, which basically extends from the junction of the Berryessa Creek all the way to upstream of Arizona Avenue to the existing drop structure. For the future, well, let me tell you, Berryessa Creek project was completed in 2018, but one of the elements that we're going to be constructing as part of the Lower Calera Creek project is a trail pavement, which is along this way, which I'm going to talk about in a little while. Okay, now going back to the map, the future project is also on Calera Creek from the existing drop structure all the way upstream of Highway 680, and also includes the Dolorcitos Creek. That's going to be for the future work. As you can see on the map, the shaded blue area, that's the 100-year flood area, which obviously after all this is completed, Valley Water's objective is to remove all the flooding area. This is a close-up map of the Lower Calera Creek. As I told you before, this is the junction. Those are the limits. We divided the project into Reach A and Reach B. So Reach A is from the junction of the Berryessa Creek project to Milpitas, North Milpitas Boulevard. That's going to be Reach A, and from North Milpitas Boulevard to upstream of Arizona Avenue, that's going to be Reach B. So you can see again, this is the 100-year flood zone. And speaking of flooding, let me show you a picture. This flood event happened in March of 1998. This is the junction of the Lower Berryessa Creek and Calera Creek. And this part is North Milpitas Boulevard. So the objective is to minimize this kind of flooding in the future. Now let me talk about the project elements and what to expect during construction. The flood protection elements, what is going to be constructed is going to be a concrete U-frame between VTA Bart Railroad and North Milpitas Boulevard. We're going to be building head walls at the bridges of North Milpitas Boulevard and Arizona Avenue, but these head walls are going to be separated from the bridges. We're going to be building 11 flood walls for the whole project, and also install an asphalt trail on levee maintenance road along Lower Berryessa Creek. To give you an idea how the existing conditions look like compared to the future conditions, let me show you on the left side. This is basically what the project or what the creek looks like right now. On your right side, you can see where the people are. We have the flood walls. And also on your right side, we have new plants which are natives of the area. And with this, we are going to be providing flood protection to the community. This is another existing view. This picture on the left is taken from North Milpitas Boulevard, looking downstream towards the VTA Bart Railroad tracks. On your right side, the view is the opposite. This one is viewing upstream from VTA Bart Railroad to North Milpitas Boulevard. The people who are familiar with the area, on your left side of this picture of the future conditions, we have the Milpitas Material Company, and we have the existing U-frame channel, which is going to be replaced with another U-frame channel and the flood walls. We're going to have a maintenance road, and we're going to have another small maintenance road and the fence to protect it. Now, in regards of the asphalt trail along Lower Berryessa Creek, this is the map where the asphalt is going to take place. This is Berryessa Creek, and the asphalt is going to happen from North Able Street to North Milpitas Boulevard, and from Tularcitos Creek to East Calaveras Boulevard. And on your left side, there's a picture of, there are some sections on the Berryessa Creek that you can see the AC pavement, the asphalt trail. And that's the future conditions that is going to be after we install the asphalt. What to expect during construction? Well, the trail is going to be closed temporarily. Valley Water will notify the community in regards of the closure. As of this moment, we don't have the schedule from the contractor, but as soon as it's available to Valley Water, we are going to communicate it to the community. The work for the construction work is going to be only Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Hauling trucks will not be allowed before start of the schedule, which means before 7 o'clock, we are not allowing any trucks. Our contractor is not allowed to park on residential streets or block anybody's entrance. There will be heavy equipment, dust, vibration, and noise because there is a construction site. For the noise and traffic control measures, there are some measures that are Valley Water are taking to basically minimize those impacts. If weekend work is needed, notification will be sent to inform the community. Now for the construction access points, we have 7 access points. On North Milpitas Boulevard and Hanson Court, we have 3 access points for the construction site. On downstream from North Milpitas Boulevard, this is the existing concrete U-frame channel. And this is Milpitas material. We're gonna have an access here. Upstream of North Milpitas Boulevard, we have access on both sides of the creek. Same thing with Arizona Avenue. We have 4 access points to the construction site. Now, we're gonna have some tree removal, but the trees that are gonna be removed, they're non-natives of the area. At the corner of Hanson Court and North Milpitas Boulevard, there are 4 trees that are going to be removed, and 2 trees are going to be removed along Jacqueline Court. As any construction site, we need to protect the trees that are going to remain. On the corner of North Milpitas Boulevard and Jacqueline Court, this blue triangular shape area, there are some trees that Valley Water will be protecting by installing a preservation fence. Now, on the yellow rectangle, those trees are going to be monitored by a certified arborist during construction to make sure that if there is some excavation, to make sure that the integrity of the trees are going to be kept. The pre-construction and post-construction surveys, before and after construction. Homeowners that provide permission to enter, we have 3 property owners. And basically Valley Water and the contractor's inspector will take notes, photos, and videos of homes and streets, sidewalks, to document everything before construction and after construction. This is a common practice with any construction project. Now the schedule. The schedule for the project. Award construction contract. The contract was awarded on May 25th, 2021. The notice to begin work was issued June 15th. Now the pre-construction public beginning is today, June 15th. There are 2 years to complete this work. To complete the civil and landscape construction of the project is expected to be finished by December 2022. And after that, there is going to be a 3-year planting establishment and maintenance period, which will be completed by December 2025. Neighborhood communications. We have the direct contacts, Carl Newman and Jose Villarreal, which they will be providing to the community periodic project updates through direct mail and social media. We're going to be having 2 project signs at the site with QR codes. So basically you can scan the code and get more information. We're going to provide post-construction surveys, and the community can access Valley Water. We have an online customer service. On your right, you can see, if you go to valleywater.org, you can contact us. There is a phone number where you can contact us. You can email Valley Water with any questions you may have. And this is the information for Carl Newman and Jose Villarreal. And as I said before, if you go to valleywater.org, you can find a lot of information in regards of Valley Water and also specifically for the Lower Calera Creek project. This concludes this presentation, and let me get back to Rochelle.
Thank you, Javier. Actually, I think we're going to go ahead and have Jose at this time take questions, anything on Zoom or from our Facebook Live, and we'll go ahead and start the question and answering period.
Great. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Also want to acknowledge our audience on Facebook who's watching us. Thank you for joining us tonight. And just want to remind folks to please submit your questions in the Q&A box that's down at the bottom. And then staff will take the questions as they come in. And also, if you want to raise your hand as well, you can also verbally ask your question. You can simply raise your hand. There's a function right next to your name, and staff will unmute you. And once we do that, you'll have to unmute yourself as well in order for us to be, in order for you to be able to ask your question online. But for now, for the Q&A session, I want to go ahead and bring Javier and Carl, who will serve as the two staff members that will be asking questions, or excuse me, answering your questions during the meeting. So yeah, again, please, for our attendees, please send me your questions via Q&A or any of our Facebook audience members. Feel free to submit your question through Facebook, and staff will bring the question into the Zoom for us to answer. So we'll do. But while we wait to get questions from our audience members, I'll go ahead and pose a question to the project team. During your presentation, you mentioned head walls that are part of the project. Can you tell us what head walls are, and maybe share with us what they do as part of the flood protection project?
Carl, can you take this?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to take that question. A head wall is a type of flood wall. It's made out of concrete that's reinforced with steel. It basically is parallel to a bridge. We use them at bridges, and the purpose of that is so that water doesn't overtop the bridge and inundate the streets around the flood protection project. So all of our flood walls run parallel to the alignment of our creek. But when we have bridges that are perpendicular to our creek, then we need to put up some kind of flood protection structure there so that the water doesn't go over the bridges and inundate our streets. So that's the purpose of a head wall. It's basically a flood wall that's made out of reinforced concrete, but it's lines up adjacent to our bridges. As Javier mentioned earlier, these head walls are not attached in any structural way to the bridges themselves. They are separated, but they are built right up next to the bridge so that we can provide watertight structure, and so that no water gets in between any little gaps in between the bridge itself and the new constructed head wall.
Great, thank you. We got a question here from Terry. I will read off the question, and either Javier or Carl, if you can answer the question first. It says, will there be a walking trail open to the public on Lower Calera Creek between North Milpitas Boulevard and Arizona Avenue?
I can take this question, Javier. We currently don't have any trails that we have what's called like joint use with the city of Milpitas along Lower Calera Creek. We have had some discussions with city about entering into an arrangement or agreement with them. Currently, we do have a trail along Lower Berryessa Creek, and that's part of the City Milpitas Master Trail Plan. But, and that's why we're doing some asphalt pavement along that trail, along Lower Berryessa Creek this summer. We did put in some asphalt 2 years ago when we did the Lower Berryessa portion of the work, and now we're coming back to complete that. So it'll all be paved when this project is complete.
And to add to that response, do we have a sense of when the paving will take place? And
right now, we do not know. When we receive the contractor's schedule, we'll have a better idea of when they'll do the asphalt work. As Javier did mention in his presentation, we will need to close that trail. We want to make sure that it's safe, and residents that want to use the trail are safe and aren't on there when we're doing our construction work. And so there'll be heavy equipment, but we will work to put out a notice when that trail will be closed for that construction work.
Great, thank you, Carl. For anyone wanting to submit a question, please submit it to the Q&A box down below, or raise your hand, and we will unmute you so that you can proceed to ask your question. And for Facebook audience folks, you can submit your question via Facebook, and staff will share it with us via Zoom so that we can answer your questions as well. While we wait to get some more questions from the audience, at the beginning of your presentation, you shared the mission and the goals of Valley Water, which is providing safe, clean water, obviously flood protection, which is why we're here today to discuss the flood protection project. But the third goal that you mentioned was healthy creeks and ecosystems. Can you share with us a little bit of how this project helps us meet that goal of having healthy creeks in a healthy ecosystem?
Yeah, I'll take that question. Yeah, as I mentioned before, any project that the Valley Water constructs, part of the conditions is to provide mitigation planting, which basically improves the ecosystem, improves the health of the creek, and provides water quality also. And Valley Water always use native trees, native plants related to the area. And this project is going to be the same thing. Valley Water will gather the native plants and plant them at the end of the construction. And there is always some maintenance establishment period, which basically it's a 3-year establishment period. That's from the moment that we plant, that counts 3 years. And after 3 years, basically the plants are mature enough that they will not need any maintenance. And as I said before, the objective is to have a self-sustained creek. Minimum maintenance, minimum sediment removal, and basically we want to bring an environment that is going to be like if it was never disturbed. So that's the purpose for this project.
Right. We get flood protection, and we improve the local environment and habitat and for wildlife. That's great to hear. Another question. So the Lower Berryessa project is broken in 3 phases, right? We completed the first phase, was majority of the work being done in along Lower Berryessa. Obviously now we're working on Lower Calera. But prior to this project, and I'm looking at Carl to maybe give us a little bit more insight. We had worked on Upper Berryessa Creek project, and similar to this project, there's the health for creeks and ecosystem benefits to it. But from what I recall, this project also was I think part of a larger effort in relationship to the BART station and sort of our effort to sort of support public transportation, sort of a regional level. And can you tell us a little bit about that, or like who do we partner with, and why was that project so important, not just locally, but I think to the sort of our regional public transportation system?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to talk more about the Upper Berryessa Creek flood protection project. So Valley Water partnered with our federal agency, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and we entered into an agreement to cost share that project. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers designed and constructed the project and managed it. It took about 2 years. It started in 2016, I believe, and finished in 2018. And that was really the start of some of the Berryessa Creek project. We were also working on locally what we call phase 1, which is between Able Street Bridge and the confluence with Lower Berryessa Creek. But the Army Corps was working on that element because that element of work provided the necessary flood protection to the future BART Milpitas station. And that was a very important project that was being undertaken by both Valley Transportation Authority and then BART as well. And so there was a very critical timeline to get the project done by the end of 2018, because the plan was for that BART station to be up and running in 2019. So it was a fast track project, and we really thank our federal partners for helping us out with that. And that sort of also helped us out greatly. For the rest of the Berryessa Creek projects, we were able to do Lower Berryessa Creek Phase 2, and now this Lower Calera Creek project.
Great. I think that's a perfect example how Valley Water partners with their federal partners and also our state partners on this project and various other projects that we have going on. So we have another question from Terry. I'll read off the question, and if Carl and Javier can please answer it. The question is, what will be the max height of the wall separating the houses from the creek?
Okay, I'm assuming this question is for the flood walls. So the flood walls, we have different heights, different locations, but it ranges from 8 to 12 feet. The 12 feet, that will be the maximum height of the walls. At the U-frame channel, since it's basically below ground level, those flood walls are a little bit higher. They're like from 15 to 18 feet tall. But since they're below ground, you won't see the difference of what it's the current condition and the future condition. You're gonna see a minimum height, but not that much.
Javier, let me just chime in. The flood walls upstream of Milpitas Boulevard will range between 4.5 feet and 9 feet above where the level of the ground is right now. Just to clarify, but as you mentioned, they do vary depending where you are along the creek. So
okay.
Yeah. The U-frame flood walls, which Javier showed. Between the VTA BART railroad tracks and the North Milpitas Boulevard. There's existing flood walls there right now, and those will need to be raised an additional 6 feet above what they are right now. And then the head walls that we talked about along the bridges over at North Milpitas Boulevard and Arizona Avenue will range between 6 and 9.5 feet above the street level.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the response. And again, I want to remind folks on Facebook Live, if you have any questions, please enter it, and staff will share it with us via Zoom, and we'll read it off and get you an answer. And for those listening, please submit your questions into the chat box on Zoom, and either Carl or Javier will answer your question. While we wait to get more questions, or excuse me, more questions from the audience, I have another one. So early on in the opening remarks, we mentioned that this is a 100-year flood protection project. So once this project is done, well, first of all, can you maybe explain to us again, what do we mean by 100-year? And then secondly, what happens when this project is completely done, meaning that phase 2 is done, phase 3 is done? What happens next? What is the role of FEMA in this?
Can you take it?
Yeah, I can take that. I can take that question. Yes, so 100-year flood protection is the standard by which the Federal Emergency Management Agency, where they basically certify a project once it's completed. And what this does is it allows us to submit a package to FEMA to say that we've designed and constructed it according to that standard of 100-year level of flood protection. Once that is certified by FEMA, it allows us to work with the counties and the cities to change the flood insurance rate maps, which will then lower flood insurance for residents after that change has been approved. So the 100-year flood event is sort of a way of saying that for every year of the project, there's 1% chance of that flood event occurring. And it's sort of a risk-based approach to quantifying the flood event. But internally, our modelers use that information to create a water surface within the creek. And from there, we also add a little bit of height to the flood walls to provide a little bit of safety, a little bit of extra safety in our design in case there's debris that piles up at the bridges, or there's some vegetation that's a little bit too high that can slow down the water surface. So we do provide a little bit of safety in our design over bridges and along the creek, just to make sure that our areas are well protected.
Great. Thank you, Carl and Javier. And so I guess another added benefit of this project is obviously property owners saving money on flood insurance. Thank you.
Yeah, and one more thing to add: we are planning to together that letter of map revision package after this project is constructed, along with Lower Penitentiary Creek as well, for all the Berryessa Creek projects.
And just to ask, how long does that take? That's a common question that we get. You know, we finish the project, and sometimes folks want to, start paying their flood insurance, but how long does that normally take after we submit all the paperwork?
Yeah, I'll take that question again. So typically it takes our staff roughly about 3 to 6 months to put together the package of information that FEMA then reviews and takes a look at, and their review from FEMA typically takes about a year. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer if there's a lot of questions and back and forth between our staff and FEMA, but anywhere from a year to year and a half is pretty typical. Great,
thank you. Now we got a question here from George Hama. I hope I pronounced his last name correctly. George's question reads, what is the scheduled date for completion of this development?
The schedule to complete the project?
I assume, yeah, by development, I assume George means the project, the flood protection project.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I can take that. The schedule to complete the channel work and basically the flood protection project, it's on December 2022. After December 2022, the mitigation planting will take place, and then there is going to be a 3-year establishment period, which we are going to be monitoring the plants. But the big elements for flood protection is going to be December 2022.
Thank you. Just want to remind folks listening to us on watching us on Facebook Live. If you have a question, please submit it, and staff will get it over to us so that we can answer it. And then folks listening here to us on Zoom, please submit your question into the Q&A box, and staff will be sure to answer the question.
Jose,
Yes.
Jose, this is Dick Santos. I have a question for Javier and Carl. Is it my understanding that this would help take us out of the Milpitas, that area, out of the FEMA flood zone, and maybe help with insurances? Is this a potential answer?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And our plan is, after this project is constructed and Lower Penitentiary Creek is constructed, we plan to submit that letter of map revision package to FEMA to remove residents from that flood zone.
Well, thank you. That'd be a great benefit. Yeah, very good.
For our audience listening to the meeting, we are also starting construction on the Lower Penitentiary project this July as well. So there's going to be quite a bit of activity going on in Milpitas to bring flood protection. And then we also have a smaller project that we're also working on. It's also, it hasn't started, it's going to be starting soon, which is on along Piedmont, is that correct? Piedmont Creek, also in Milpitas, that it's part of our stream maintenance program that we do every year to maintain and ensure that creeks function and provide the flood protection that they're designed to do. The staff will be working on that project as well. So there's quite a bit of activity going on in the city of Milpitas. While we wait for questions from the audience, I have one more question. I'm gonna go ahead and ask the project team and then see if we get any more from the audience. If not, I think we're probably okay to wrap things up. But during the presentation, you mentioned the number of properties that will be protected. Can you please remind us how many properties are going to be protected once this project is completed?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. So for Lower Berryessa Creek, which is from Calaveras Boulevard all the way down to Lower Penitentiary Creek, and then also Lower Calera Creek, it's about I'm sorry, including as well future work, which would be which Javier mentioned is part of phase 3. It's about 1,800 properties.
Oh, great! 1,800 properties. It's a good number of homes and businesses and infrastructure, public infrastructure that will be protected. Right. So I think with that, unless we get any more questions from the audience, I'd like to turn it over back to Rochelle, who will bring back Director Santos for closing comments.
Yes, thank you everyone in the community for joining us this evening and learning about Lower Calera Creek construction project for this summer. You know, no question is too small. If you have any questions, please reach out to staff. You can reach us on our webpage at valleywater.org. If you just type in Lower Berryessa Creek, you will find the project information and the contacts. And, again, we just appreciate your interest in the project and would welcome any questions, even if during construction. Don't hesitate to reach out to anyone on site or through our offices. So thank you very much. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Santos to close this out. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand tonight people coming home and June 15th, and so many things are happening in California. We've been through so many challenges of the COVID-19. We have droughts, you name it. So tonight you may be a little tired or whatever have you. So you have an opportunity. This will be recording to being available on YouTube. So later on, if something comes to your mind, please, you can contact our fantastic staff of Rochelle, Javier, Carl, Jose, and Lynn, and all the Valley Water staff. They're always available. So go to our webpage, whatever it takes. Things may come to your mind later on. Meantime, use the water wisely. We hope we get some more flood protection. We keep on working every day. We are up for the challenges. This is what we do. And there's no fear here. We're going to work together, collaborate, whatever it takes. So I want to thank everybody tonight. Be safe and call in if you need us. We're available 7/24. We'll see you around. Be safe. Thank you.